I tell you folks, we get some of the best comments at this channel. Give me some of the greatest ideas. A lot of the questions I get, I don't always know an answer. And sometimes I get comments and it like gives me new ideas. So I was looking at this here water wheel. I happened to see the comment about the let's see, where is it at? Yeah, so I was answering a question about the car. Well, this is actually just an animated DAE, but to make it a mod so that it could crush a car, but that's not what I would make it to crush a car. I had the idea from that comment. Well, what if we took it and we made it into a mod and see if the river will actually turn the wheel, which we all know that water physics work with like the game other physic objects, so it's just see no reason why it shouldn't work. So I downloaded it. Now we'll take it, before we even do anything with it, we'll go to our vehicles folder here, and we're going to make a mod folder for that mod. We're just going to make a new folder, and we'll call it water wheel. And I'll share this if it works. So in the water wheel folder, we're going to need two things to start with. We're going to need an info file and a blank JBeam file. So we'll copy them both into here, and the info file will name our mod. Basically, it's what we're going to put here is the name of the mod. I will save it. Close all the other stuff out of here, and the blank JBeam. We'll change the name of that too. I don't think you actually have to change this though, but you know, I would see no reason why not to. Alright, so the first thing we'll come down to in here is these flex bodies. So the mesh here, the mesh is the mesh in Blender, not the JBeam itself, which are the nodes and the vertices and the triangles, but actually just the physical mesh that you see. So that's where we'll go to the downloaded folder and extract that zip file. Alright, so there's a DAE file in there. That's what we're going to load into Blender. And delete all that shit. Alright, import DAE, downloads, and wheel, and water wheel. Now, of course, this one animates, but we're not using the animation, so we're going to open it up, and we're going to clear animation data. So, old water wheel, that's the flex body. That's going to be the flex body. So, we go back to here, and we put that flex body right there. That's the name. So it knows that everything associated with Group A influences the old water wheel. So one may say, well, how do I get my nodes and my beams and my triangles from Blender to control that water wheel? Well, what you need is a JBeam, which a JBeam can be the same object. It can be a different object. It's up to you. But for something like this, I would make a cylinder, and we don't need that many sides to it. That's just extra weight and more computations, whatever you want to call them. We'll simplify this here wheel so that it's not too complicated. The depth, I'll make it about the width of the wheel. The radius, about the size of the wheel. Let's rotate it so that it's 90 degrees. If you hold your control key down when you rotate, it makes it easy to lock 5-degree increments. Now I use the hotkeys to move stuff around, but basically to move something like this, you can just hit letter G on your keyboard to also move it. So I'll probably make this little, let's see, about, I think, what do you think? I think that'd be good. So that'll actually be the collision mesh that you'll be interacting with, or that the game will be interacting with. But I think that'll probably work. What I may can do to make it even a little better, so that I can make sure that maybe enough water does hit it as in edit mode. Maybe take this face and extrude it out just a bit. And I always use the XYZ when I extrude, so that I can just tell it, an exact direction. And don't worry about the texture or anything with something like this, because this you don't worry about that with the J-beam texture and all that stuff. Now for this particular one, I will need to use that one. And I'll do that one too. I just got some more little nubs, Now, for making a mod, what I'll do too, well, I'll set this thing's origin to the 3D cursor. And I'll apply all transforms. Now I'm going to go to edit mode. With this thing selected, I'm going to select all the vertices. And I'm going to connect some of them so that it's got some support. I'll sometimes usually use mesh J-beam nodes connector and let every vertice connect to every vertice, but that can make a hell of a lot of vertices. I'm sorry, a hell of a lot of beams, because basically if that connects to that and you hit F, you just made a beam. So if you connect them all to all, that's a hell of a lot of, it's a lot of beams. We don't need that many. So we'll just simplify this. We'll connect most of them. Just think of a cave. If you're digging a cave, you got to have these wooden things to hold the damn ground so that it don't collapse on you. Well, the same thing with these mods, these J-beams. Now, it is true that all these lines that connect these dots together, they also act as beams. But when you don't have anything connecting through centerways, then it can crush side to side really easily, especially in the middle. Alright, now this tool here, this knife, I'm going to connect that to that and hit F. That one to that one and hit F. That way it makes a point in the middle. Oops. Damn it. Do that again. Now I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. Even if they are already connected, there's no node there yet. Well, you don't get a nodes if you cross them. So that node and that node, whatever node numbers they end up turning out to be, those will be fixed or anchored so that they only will pivot. So now I'll connect those two together with a beam so that they got a little support. And think we're pretty much almost done. We'll hit A to select all, and we'll triangulate all the remaining faces. Back to object mode. Before we do anything else, we need to save our work we've done here. So we'll save it as, well, we'll save it in, first of all, in the vehicle of that water wheel folder. That's where we'll save our Blender file. So now we can export this cylinder, which I'll rename it to Wheels J-Beam. This needs to be exported as a J-Beam. File, export, J-Beam. And where it got sent is where we just saved that file. In the old vehicles folder, in the water wheel folder. J-Beam exported. There's the folder. And there's our J-Beam for our wheel. So those nodes we were looking for earlier, after we added our flex body, the nodes that we're going to put with this group A here are the nodes from here. So we'll drag them and drop them. This tells you where the nodes start. And you can clearly see what is not a node by what, other stuff that's written on it. So that's what you do. You grab it, you drag it, you drop it. Now you go down past the thrusters and the beam hydros, and you go down to the beam section. And then right here, you'll put the beams, which are also in here. Right there they go. You select them all. We'll drag them and drop them also. And then lastly, the collision triangles. And we drop them right there. Now, up here is the weight of the wheel. I'll just leave that at that for the time being. I don't know, maybe you should make it lighter. Oh, you indecisive person, you. Let's make it a little lighter. Let's make it, basically, every vertice, if you look at this wheel here in edit mode, every vertice has weight, right? And that weight is determined here. So when you're figuring up things for physics and stuff like that, the weight's important because not only do them have weight, but the line that connects the two dots together, that's known as a beam, or they call it an edge in Blender, but it is basically a spring that can compress and expand. That thing's strength is determined in the beam section, which is right here. The beam spring strength, that's how much force is required to make it either contract or expand. That's how much dampening it has on it. The next line, beam deform, FLT max, means that if it does in fact meet that threshold and bend, will it stay deformed? Well, if that's the case, FLT underscore max, sounds like a hamburger to me, that will not allow permanent deformation. Assigning a number here, like say 1,000, then this would permanently deform once 1,000 is met. But FLT max is kind of like the ultimate maximum. There's nothing higher than that. You can't get stronger than that. So, yeah. And for beams breaking, which when they break, they make triangles disappear on your mesh. You can have them not break if you do not want them to. I usually do not turn that on. Pre-compression, well, that's how much tug or slack the thing starts off with based on its length. So if it was like a meter long, for example, and you told this thing to be 0.5, then it would be pulled tight, I think, half of its length, total length in pre-compression. Or 1.5 would mean it would be 0.5 more than 1 times its length, so it'd have a lot of slack. That would be like, you can think of a rope, pulling slack in a rope or letting slack out of a rope. At least this is how I understand it. If you got too much compression, you got too little of a beam spring, what's going to happen? It's going to implode. So I just leave everything at 1. I usually don't really mess with this much. Not for the little basic stuff I make. We'll save our J-beam, and we will load our water wheel into existence. However, one thing I did not point out, we didn't export the DAE yet. Which the DAE is already in there, in the download folder, but it's not in here yet. And that's the one that was animated. But remember, I turned the animation off, so this old water wheel, its texture is called water wheel wood. We're going to grab this here wheel, and its origin needs to be set also to the 3D cursor. It's not set, it's still set in the middle from where I animated it. Set origin 3D cursor. If the origin's not set to 3D cursor, nothing's going to line up. Where the game thinks this wheel will not be where it's supposed to be, and you'll have a mesh that's somewhere else other than where it needs to be. That's why everything just gets calculated to the 3D cursor. That way everything's just equally at 0 and everything's set the same. So now we export the DAE. If you have your J-beam still in here, just when you do select your wheel, say selection only. Don't put it in the J-beam exported folder. You're going to put it in the main water wheel folder. It doesn't matter what you name the DAE. When the J-beam loads for this wheel, it's going to scan the directory, and it's not looking for names of DAEs. When it's looking for names of flex bodies, which you can have multiple flex bodies in a mod, but in this case, it's just this one wheel. So you can load the game. That wheel should spawn into existence. It should fall flat on the ground. It probably will fall through the ground, in fact. This can be one of the most frustrating parts about making a mod when you go to spawn it first time. So many times I've spawned things and I don't see anything. I mean, it's there, but the texture's not there, or something's missing. Water wheel. And like I said, it fell through the ground. Why you say it fell through the ground? Well, because me forget something. Up here, where these nodes are, where that node weight is, you also see collision, false, or true. It needs to be true to collide with the ground. A quick reset will show you this. Now it will collide with the ground, and ooh man, that mod does not agree with that J-beam whatsoever. Basically, the game you trying to, if you bend something, it basically will try to conform to whatever the shape of the object is, and do the best it can to make its vertices follow the vertices of the J-beam, which we all saw that I just made a generic wheel, and I probably made it worse by adding those extra little doohickeys there on the end of it. But this still can all be resolved. You know, I wasn't going to do it, but I guess I got to pull the big guns out. It's your J-beam here. We're going to go into edit mode. We're going to say, select all them balls, mesh, J-beam nodes connector. Now, it ain't going nowhere. We'll export it again in object mode. Oh, we will save before we do this, because it has a habit of crashing when you export J-beams. Alright, successfully exported one J-beam. That's what I like to see. We need to load it back into here though. And because there's new beams, we just created a lot of them. However, there shouldn't be any more nodes, because we didn't make new nodes. All we did was made new beams, which just basically increased the number of beams there are by a pretty significant amount. But that should be a pretty strong wheel. They wouldn't let any wagon down if it was rolling on it. So we remove those 200 and something that's in there and replace them with these 800 and something that's here. I also can adjust the strength of the springs of those things to make them stronger. If you ever do this and your game pauses, basically it became unstable. See, much more stable now. But it paused. Why did it pause? Me don't know. Me know something wrong. Well, don't know what. Just to make it heavier. If you make more spring strength, then you got to add more weight. That's just. It didn't explode. But now we got us a bouncing wheel. Well, let's get on to the thing that we made the video for. Let's check and see, does water make it move? So we'll make a river. A quick river. A river editor. We make a river. Go through wheel and we tell the flow magnitude force to be considerably high. Oh, almost forgot, folks. We're gonna exit the editor and hit Control N so that we can see the node names. So those little dots that I made earlier that I said we needed there, in the center, that is node NR18, and the one on the other side is NR18, NR19, NR18. So we can move this to here, and we can copy this fixed false. We're going to copy that to our clipboard and go down to the bottom here, right before where that group is, and we're going to paste that. Now we're going to take those two nodes, 18 and 19, and we're going to copy them to the clipboard. We're going to delete them, and then we're going to paste them under this, and then we're going to type true. True, true, true. And what that's going to do, we hit Control R to reload it. It's going to anchor it so it doesn't move, but it can rotate on an axis. Yeah, that's pretty basic stuff there. It's like the Wheel of Fortune. Hey, someone needs to make a mod of the Wheel of Fortune. I may just do that. That'd be pretty fun little game. Little modded game. Spin that big wheel. Of course, I made the mod for the game Plinko a while back. That actually I shared also. And I think I even made a skee ball mod. Yeah, skee ball mod made too. So let's get this water. Let's stop this wheel. Let's raise up the river so it's touching the wheel. And let us increase the flow magnitude physics. And I say, it worked there. Let me hide these beams. And these nodes. Oops, I can't do that in edit mode. Hide the nodes. Hide the triangles. And what we have us here is a water wheel. I guess now I'm obligated now to make a model to go around it, which would make sense. But you know what? A real water wheel, it don't work quite like that. I think them there, I think the way they work, you got to have it like this. You take your river. Where'd that river go? I'm gonna have to delete it. I didn't delete it. We'll make another one. Now what I was gonna say is you gotta take your river, make it a skinny river. Make it about a foot deep or a meter deep. Like that there. Increase the flow magnitude physics. And the way these things normally work, well, you see they basically it comes in from one side. Something like that. Shit. Ain't want to turn, is it? What's that old steam power there? Or hydro power. So you would make you like a little, I don't know. You can like play with this there and make like a little waterfall thingy for it. But you know, I know I done talked myself into making it now. So I guess that'll be the focus for a little while. In between everything else I'm trying to do. Yep. Oh, spinny. Oh, you know somebody wants to know what happens if you drive a car. I wasn't going to leave you hanging, of course. You know we got to see. So, let's get a car in here and see what it does. Alrighty. Let's get a, I don't know. Let's get old Cop Hopper in there. I reckon in a pink vehicle. Interesting, they used pink with that word. I was kind of wondering how it's going to make things rotate again ever since they made it where the old giant hammer thrusters do not work anymore. The letter T and the letter G. I don't even know how to fix that. It's not something I understand fully. I just remember seeing the warning for a long time. It said, change the control type, because this could be depreciated one day, and they wasn't lying. They finally did depreciate it. Another thing a lot of you may want to keep in mind is they're also going to be depreciating, possibly based on what they say, is the locations to things. When you point to things in a file texture, like here where you got the location for where the texture is to go with a DAE, which if the DAE and the texture are in the same folder with the main.material, going simply missed. Really, I'm actually pretty impressed with the fact that it worked. Pretty cool, pretty cool. All right, folks, I'll zip it up and share it. Do what you want with it. Modify it, make it better. I don't care. Have fun.